As the Pope was just mentioning, the global artificial intelligence race is on, and the U.S. is fighting to stay ahead. OpenAI CEO Sam Altman warns a Senate committee yesterday that China is closing the gap.
For AI, who's winning, America or China? If the answer is America, how close is China to us?
It is our belief that the American models, including some models from our company, OpenAI and Google and others, are the best models in the world. It's very hard to say how far ahead we are, but I would say not a huge amount of time.
Let's bring in Mark Beall, President of Government Affairs at the AI Policy Network and former Pentagon AI Policy Director. Mark, do you agree with what Sam Altman had to say there?
Hi, John. Thanks for having me. Yes, Mr. Altman is right on the money. The United States and China have been racing to build powerful AI systems now for a number of years. And the United States and China are actually quite neck and neck. So
what's at stake here? I mean, obviously, people like Senator Cruz are concerned about China's potential dominance. What happens if the U.S. were to lose?
Yeah, this week's hearing was a very important step, and it's a conversation the American people need to pay very close attention to. AI actually is an imminent and potentially existential issue. And, when you cut through some of the hyperbole and partisanship in that hearing, I noticed a clear message from both sides of the aisle that we have to beat China and we have to do it in the right way with smart AI policy. John, as these systems get more and more powerful and have more and more agency, I think the people in countries that's going to be dominating this technology is going to have an outsized effect on shaping the future of the international order.
Yeah. Huawei is an example of what can happen when China corners a particular market. Listen to Brad Smith. He's the Microsoft vice chair.
The number one factor that will define whether the United States or China wins this race is whose technology is most broadly adopted in the rest of the world. This is a global market, and it will be defined as technology markets typically are by network effects. The lesson from Huawei and 5G is whoever gets there first will be difficult to supplant.
Is that a pretty good analogy, do you think?
I think that's right on the money. And, with AI, it's in a way we have some competing objectives. And on one hand, we want to race the Chinese and deploy our technology around the world and allow the world to build on top of and use this technology. But then on the other hand, we have to look critically at how this technology and its supply chain is proliferating around the world, including the places like China, without any real restraints so far. And it's something that I think the Congress is going to have to grapple with more seriously as things move forward.
Yeah, well, regulation is always a problem. I mean, over-regulation can stifle creativity. Here's another bit of sound from Sam Altman on the situation with regard to regulation of AI. Listen.
I think it is easy for it to go too far. And as I've learned more about how the world works, I'm more afraid that it could go too far and have really bad consequences. But people want to use products that are generally safe. When you get on an airplane, you kind of don't think about doing the safety testing yourself. You're like, maybe this is a bad time to use the airplane example. But you kind of want to just trust that you can get on it.
Because there are, every day you can read somebody's assessments about how scary AI can be.
Yeah, it's a tough question, but I think sometimes we in Washington like to frame a little bit of a false choice. In one hand, we're worried that we're going to adopt European-style regulations and kneecap our own industry and lose the race to China. And then on the other hand, people might say, well, we have to just hit the gas and drive forward into the night without any headlights on. And I think probably both of those things are not true. I think President Reagan said something really important. He used to say trust but verify. And I think with this industry, that's going to be a really important kind of guidepost for us. Because I think we've heard, even in the last few weeks, a number of quite alarming messages coming out of the industry. In fact, one, a very well-respected investor, Paul Tudor Jones, relayed a comment that he heard an executive make at a conference. Someone asked this executive what he was doing to prepare for AI and deal with AI security. And his answer was that millions of Americans are going to have to die before the government wakes up, and that he's bought himself a 100-acre farm. That's a chilling kind of insight from one of the people responsible for building this technology.
Yeah, let's hope it doesn't go that direction. Mark Beall from the AI Policy Institute. Thanks for your expertise.
Thank you, and happy Mother's Day.
Same to you.